The most skillful fighter at 135 will be hands down Shakur Stevenson.
In order for people to realize, because all the boxing fans realize, like Shakur's a great example. It's not really a household name, but he should be. I mean, he's an elite fighter. He's so good, but he needs like a big, high-profile fight.
Shakur is an amazing fighter. You know, he's gonna have a great career. Crazy skills, good boxing ability, and I will always be proud of him. Always. You know, that's why, even like Shakur, you know, I had a chance to train him the other day in the gym.
And he don't think that I should be the B side of this shit. Of this upcoming fight. He think I should be the A side. And he really felt strongly about it, but no, it is what it is, bro. I appreciate Floyd. That's my guy. I wouldn't even never say nothing bad about Floyd.
Whenever Floyd Mayweather Jr. weighs in on a fight featuring Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez, it demands close attention. Mayweather is famously cautious with compliments, reserving them exclusively for fighters he genuinely regards as top tier.
Floyd, when you think about the fighters who are fighting now, can you give me your 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 when it comes to the lightweight? The lightweight, who you would put where?
Well, you got guys fighting between 130, 135, and 140. They stack, you know, around that area. So, I mean, as of right now,
skills that pay the bills.
The most skillful fighter at 135 will be hands down Shakur Stevenson.
And what is it about him? Because I know he have a lot of good attributes, but do you think he has enough power to sustain?
Well, it's really all about skills. Pernell Whitaker wasn't a huge puncher, but he was, I mean, very exciting, very tough, and he fought everybody. And Shakur is trying to do the same thing. He want to fight the best they got.
This time, Floyd didn't hold back or speak in general terms. He directly pointed out that Shakur Stevenson operates on a superior technical plane, signaling that he sees Stevenson as having a clear advantage in raw skill. Floyd highlighted that Stevenson's mastery of fight control, precise timing, and positional awareness would give him a noticeable upper hand over Teofimo. What makes this opinion particularly significant is that it comes from someone who isn't just watching from the sidelines. There's a real mentor-student relationship underlying Floyd's perspective.
It's like, yo, when you spar, I'm gonna come to the gym. I'm like, shit, I'm gonna spar at 4 o'clock. I really didn't think he was gonna pull up, but he pulled up. It means everything. His advice and listening to him in the ring, he calling out little shit. I'm trying to make sure I do what he says. So, a hell of a blessing to have Bud, Floyd, all these guys backing me, and I appreciate them. I'm just trying to keep pushing.
Floyd's insight comes straight from personal experience. He's been present with Shakur in training camps, watched his routines, tracked his consistency, and seen how he maps out rounds ahead of time. That close-up view is what gives Floyd such confident commentary. From his perspective, this fight isn't about brute force or flashy moves. It's a test of which boxer truly understands the core principles and strategy of the sport.
Y'all already know. I promise you already. T.O. better be working. Cause I promise you I put in so much work this camp. Let's do it. Yeah, I'm just checking in with y'all real quick, lady. Y'all know.
Floyd sees echoes of his own approach in Shakur's style. The same calculated, methodical tactics he once used to force elite opponents into mistakes, pressure, and uncertainty, all while staying composed. So when a fighter who built an unbeaten career through skill and strategy predicts that someone can outperform another top contender, it's not hype or exaggeration. It's insight grounded in real experience.
5 contemporaries have a lot to say these days. Shakur Stevenson, well, of course he's now 135 after all that stuff, and then Devin Haney.
Right, so why people even talk like he the best at, he didn't even fight at 135 yet.
Right.
He didn't even have power at 126, 30 or none of that.
He is good.
Okay. How can you, all that's just okay. How can you stop people that can actually hit No matter all that boxing, you going to get hit. What you going to do when...
Floyd isn't predicting chaos or highlight real moments. He's pointing to a clear gap between the fighters, one reacting, the other controlling every exchange. History shows that when Mayweather spots that kind of dynamic early, his assessment is almost always accurate. Once he calmly asserts that Shakur will clearly outperform Teofimo, the conversation naturally shifts, with Timothy Bradley Jr. stepping in to dissect the technical details of how that scenario would play out. That's where the analysis gets particularly fascinating.
If you can keep your opponent off balance. For instance, let me just give you an example. It's like Teo explodes. There's a subtlety before he explodes with his offense. And as soon as Shakur sees that, he's anticipating something to come. He knows he's going to explode in. So what does Shakur do? Teo takes a big step in, Shakur takes a big step back. Again, always understanding because he has great eyes, understands boxing very well and movements. And Shakur is going to step out of range and make Teo fall short a lot of the time.
As I listen to Tim, it becomes clear this isn't just casual talk or social media chatter. This insight comes from hours spent studying film and breaking down every detail. His message is straightforward but powerful. This fight isn't determined by punches, it's determined by movement. Once that clicks, the matchup takes on a whole new meaning. Teofimo Lopez depends on being set to launch his attacks, while Shakur Stevenson excels at throwing off that timing. Tim paints it almost like a trick of perception. Teofimo swings, Shakur subtly shifts, and the punch lands on empty air, chipping away at confidence in the process.
For Teo to have his success against Shakur, and what I noticed when Zepeda had success against Shakur was he has to take him he has to get to him in the pocket. He has to make Shakur sit in the pocket with him. Teo is a counterpuncher naturally by heart. Like, he's not like an aggressive fighter. He likes guys to come to him. Give you an example. You had a guy, a Barboza, who was going to him, and what did you see? Shakur knows how to play that game of patience, the game of, waiting, the game of, drawing your offense out, because Shakur, he stays right between that outside and mid-range, and he's like one step away from getting outside of range all the time.
What makes Tim's breakdown so precise is that he's not labeling Teofimo as slow or limited. His point is that Teofimo's explosive moments leave subtle hints, and Shakur is exactly the kind of fighter who reads those cues instantly. Bradley portrays Shakur's style as calm but quietly threatening, and that's where the real danger lies. On the surface, it may seem low-key, almost uneventful, yet before you know it, entire rounds have passed. From Tim's viewpoint, Teofimo faces a steep challenge. He would need to step out of his usual counterpunching rhythm and consistently take the initiative to keep up.
I think, with Teofimo Lopez, besides the explosions, man, and the quickness, I watched the big looping left, watched the big looping right, If you can get away from the first step, of Teofimo Lopez, and cut on an angle, he's going to be going exploding straight forward. There's times where Teo leaves his feet. I mean, there's a lot of flaws in Teo's game that I think a guy like Shakur, who's more disciplined, is going to be able to exploit.
For Teofimo to make it work, he'd need to string together combinations and force Shakur into close-range exchanges, a tough task against a fighter who uses distance like a built-in shield. Shakur's jab consistently disrupts Teofimo's setups, and his movement keeps him just out of reach, stretching the fight and draining energy with every exchange. Tim delivers this insight calmly and precisely without theatrics. What he's really saying is that as long as the action stays in open space, Shakur can methodically take control round by round. And when a former world champion lays it out with that quiet clarity, it becomes obvious. This fight isn't about flashy moments, it's about controlling territory you barely notice being lost.
I think the way Teo can get this done is that he's gonna have to be more aggressive, and that's not his strong suit. You know, he's going to have to get really aggressive. He's going to have to get Shakur on the ropes. He's going to have to work his hands, speed, combinations, you know, and do that as often as possible. Because if the fight is fought in the center of the ring, he's going to struggle. He's going to struggle if the fight is fought in the center of the ring, man. You know, so the ropes going to have to be Teofimo's friend, meaning pinning Shakur on the ropes. That hand speed and running off those combinations is definitely going to have to be his approach.
Once Timothy Bradley Jr. wraps up his detailed breakdown, Robert Garcia steps in, bringing that calm, old-school gym insight that lands just as strongly. Listening to him, you notice why seasoned boxing figures speak differently. There's no yelling or hype, just genuine respect for two fighters who've earned their place in the ring. He describes Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez exactly as it unfolds, a high-speed chess match where each man is skilled enough to counter the other's key strengths. What really stands out is his candid take on Teofimo. When Teofimo stays sharp, disciplined, and focused, he's a serious threat to anyone. But when that focus wavers, cracks start to show. It's not criticism, just the reality of the sport.
Yeah, a great fight when it does happen. Especially if Teofimo comes in at his best, because we've seen some great performances, but then we've also had those questions about Teofimo's mind, mentality in boxing, his future. So hopefully we get the best Teofimo, the Teofimo that wants to be the best in the world. Because we know Shakur is one of those. Shakur always comes in as best. He wants it so bad. So that's just gonna makes it to be a great fight. I can't wait.
At the same time, Robert gives Shakur the credit many casual fans might miss. Shakur doesn't depend on flashy moves or dramatic moments. His strength lies in consistency and precision. He shows up fully prepared every time, without emotional swings or hesitation. And that kind of calm efficiency can unsettle anyone across the ring. What really stands out is Robert noting that he's known both fighters for years, seen them grow firsthand, and still struggles to pick a clear favorite. That alone speaks volumes. This isn't some gimmick matchup or hype job. It's the meeting of two fighters who have been building toward this moment for years. One secures wins through control and pressure. The other thrives on sudden bursts and momentum shifts. One slowly closes the space. The other looks to overturn everything the moment you get comfortable. And when Robert admits he slightly favors Teofimo, but can't confidently choose, it's not bias, it's respect. At this level, analysis doesn't make the outcome obvious. It only intensifies the anticipation, because a single smart adjustment or one misstep can completely change the fight.
You know, I've known both of them. I could say I know Teofimo and his dad Junior a little more, so I would probably be cheering for him. But Shakur's been great to us too, man. Shakur, every time we see each other, he's great. You know, in Saudi when we were over there with Virgil, he never had a problem with us training at the same time with him. You know, he's a great dude, man, great person. So it's gonna be a hard pick because between both of them, it's hard to pick a winner, honestly. Leaving the relationships aside, it's hard. It's difficult. It's difficult because they're both very talented. They both have their own advantages to pull off the win. But in my heart, I'm probably gonna lean towards Teofimo.
Right after Robert Garcia's grounded gym floor breakdown, the conversation turns more intense when Buzzy Ennis steps in. Buzzy doesn't hedge, he speaks his mind plainly. Listening to him, you sense that classic, old-school confidence that comes only from facing elite fighters firsthand. He doesn't underestimate Teofimo Lopez's athleticism. His speed, explosiveness, and overall threat are real, but his description of Shakur Stevenson highlights something uniquely sharp. Buzzy explains that in the early rounds, it's a cautious chess match, both fighters feeling each other out. As the fight unfolds and patterns start to form, Shakur begins to gain the upper hand. What really sticks is Buzzy's take on power, not just brute strength, but the subtle impact that you barely notice until it lands. That's advanced boxing intelligence, using timing and speed to generate real damage.
I think it's going to be a technical fight in the beginning. And then I think later on, Shakur going to pick him apart, man. He's going to pick him apart.
And I gotta tell everybody that Whichcomb is real athletic too. Teofimo. So I mean, I don't think it's gonna be an easy fight. You know what I mean? People think, a lot of people say it's gonna be easy and all that. Nah, Teofimo can punch and he can box. And like I said, he's real athletic. So, you know what I mean? That'll make it a little difficult right there.
Shakur isn't performing for the crowd. He's focused on catching his opponents off balance, which makes him far more dangerous. You can almost imagine Buzzy rolling his eyes at all the talk about size or strength, thinking, skill travels, speed travels. Shakur has faced bigger fighters without missing a beat. This isn't hype, it's first-hand experience. He breaks it down clearly. When it comes to skill, Shakur operates on a higher level. It's not disrespect, it's fact. Hearing that, it's easy to understand why predictions for this fight get complicated. Teofimo Lopez can still turn moments in his favor. One explosive move could swing around. But if he meets Shakur head-on without forcing it recklessly, the momentum shifts quickly, and any hesitation lets Shakur quietly accumulate rounds. The best part, Buzzy brushes off the critics as background noise, underscoring just how confident he is in what he's observing.
They've got the weight and all that. I see Shakur box big guys, light heavyweights and all that stuff. It's like boots. He box heavyweights and put heavyweights down. You know what I mean? I think that's the right move for him. You know what I mean? Get up, and I think he can really do good at that.
Buzzy knows exactly how this story usually plays out. If Shakur wins, critics shrug it off as expected. If he loses, they'll call him overrated. That's just boxing culture. But Buzzy isn't concerned with opinions. He's focused on the fight itself. A technical breakdown that could end in a decision or turn messy if Teofimo chases flashy moments instead of staying disciplined. When a trainer who's molded elite fighters says Shakur is performing on a higher level, it's not social media hype. It's a serious observation. Put all together, Floyd sees a clear skill gap, Bradley analyzes the footwork traps, Garcia points out razor-thin margins, and Buzzy lays out Shakur's skill-for-skill edge. Suddenly, this fight isn't about personalities or hype. It becomes a battle of control versus bursts, patience versus recklessness, and whether discipline can maintain order when chaos hits. Teofimo still has the firepower to swing around instantly, but can he execute it cleanly against someone like Shakur?
Punch that you don't see, he knocks him out. And they always say, man, I didn't see that punch coming. That's the one you worry about. I mean, then you got to look at this. Shakur, he got speed. He got speed. He a technician, man. He know what he's doing, man. I can't take that away from Teo. Teo's a good fighter, too. You know what I mean? He's a good fighter. But I think Shakur is way above.
Shakur Stevenson fights with a level of precision that quietly accumulates rounds while everyone else waits for the big highlights. That's why this matchup grabs the attention of trainers, fighters, and legends alike. No one is speculating, they're debating fundamentals. And that's exactly the kind of conversation boxing thrives on. Now it's your turn. Share your thoughts in the comments. Not just who you think will win, but why. Is Shakur asserting control with calculated strategy, or can Teofimo generate the moments that turn the fight around? Let's hear it. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Fight Tub. See you in the next video.